Hi, good evening. It's a pleasure to be with you. My name is Olivier Guitta. I'm a geopolitical risk consultant. Tonight, I would like to speak to you about why geopolitical risk matters to you in your daily life. Let's start with a personal story. Me, the geopolitics erupted in my life in 2001. On 9/11, I was in the US. I was a portfolio manager. I had no inclination of ever becoming a geopolitical risk expert. And that day I decided that geopolitics mattered more than finance for me. And I decided to go into geopolitics. So it's interesting because a few years back, a lot of people were asking me, so what do you do for work? And I used to say, oh, I'm doing geopolitical risk. And so people would go, that's interesting. But then that would be a conversation killer. Because they wouldn't know what it was. I was always, you know, the guy doing that obscure stuff that people don't know about or I've never heard of. Now, fast forward a few years, at dinner parties, I'm a big hit. People ask me geopolitical advice like they would ask doctors in the past medical advice at parties. So usually the first question I get is, should we think about getting an anti-nuclear shelter? Are we going to World War III? But what's interesting is that most people ask me about the main question that bothers them, and it is, where should I go on holiday? They want to know if the country they've picked for holiday in the summer is safe or not. After I reply, they usually say, so, but where are you going on holiday this summer? So when I answer, some of them say, oh, maybe we should go there as well. That could make a lot of sense for us. If a geopolitical risk is going to that country, he's done his homework and that should be safe. Because now when I'm in a taxi or at the supermarket or briefing a corporate executive, they know what geopolitics are and they are interested by it. Final example of, in my little microcosm that I can see how things have changed. I send my newsletter to all my contacts, and a few years back, I would get 25 to 30% of my contacts to open that newsletter. Now we're closer to 75 or 80%. So now let's jump into the reality of geopolitics. And I would start off with the example of a baguette. Some bread bought in Paris has gone up 40% in price. So people are thinking, oh, that's because of the government. It's all the fault of the government. But it's not. It's geopolitics. Grains coming from a faraway country that are being blocked, production that has gone down, tariffs, a blockade, all those elements that are linked to geopolitics are making your baguette 40% more expensive. So your energy bill triples, and you look at it and it's all about geopolitics. It's all about the energy market and what has happened. So the question is now for you to be looking at this and understanding that you don't live on an island anymore, because everything is interconnected and everything that happens thousands of miles away are going to be relevant to your daily life. And so when you realize this, you think that geopolitical risk is relevant to you. So it's not only governments, it's not only corporations, it's only all of us that need to know about geopolitical risk. So why is geopolitics important? Look, a few things are important to note. Conflicts far away from your home are actually changing your daily lives. Second thing, the traditional news that you get is not going to give you the tools to understand what's really happening. The headlines that you read, the puzzle that will help you uncover what's going on behind, are the geopolitics. Geopolitics are a tool that will help you in any business connect the dots. And I think that connecting the dots is crucial for any kind of success in business today. Geopolitics would also help you imagine the different trends and the different themes that are going to be crucial and vital for you in the next 10 to 15 years. History has a history of repeating itself. And so right there, what we're going to be looking at is obviously the domestic conundrum. Everybody thinks that everything is domestic politics, but politics do not stop at the border. In order for you to understand how things are impacting energy, capital flows, migration, you need to look at geopolitics. So, for instance, immigration, let's take that as an example. It really derives most of the time from people displaced from conflicts far away. And so this is not the only issue that we have. Right here, what we're looking at is information warfare as well. The narratives that are being built in every country to basically give you an idea of your values, of where your countries stand in, have become tremendously important. Social media has been used as a major tool to spread propaganda. Propaganda always existed, but the way it's now set up has given it another dimension. And not only that, I think that at no time in history we've seen how much geopolitics matters now. The last point that I would like to make is about resources. Everybody talk about resources being vital to our economy and to our lives. It is true. Take energy, take food, water, rare earth mineral that we didn't know about a few years back how vital they are for our economy. The question is not owning them. The question is also protecting the supply routes of those commodities. And so here is in a nutshell what can happen. If you own rare earth minerals or any commodities, that doesn't guarantee you peace. But if you don't own them, it is likely that conflict will emerge in the next few years. Conflicts come and go, but the undercurrent of those conflicts is still there. It is also a matter of alliances, a matter of where your country is positioning itself. And what's important and what we've seen as an emerging pattern is how much the alliances are transactional today. Both Churchill and de Gaulle were correct when they said, look, a country doesn't have any friends. It just has interest. And so we've seen time and again how a past enemy becomes an ally when interests align. And so it's not about treaties, it's much more about what you need to do. The adage that you see in the Middle East, that the enemy of my enemy is my friend, is really the name of the game at the moment. So now let's talk about the middle powers, those countries that have emerged as being very important that were not. Those middle powers have taken a role of their own without any influx from the superpowers. They are controlling their neighborhood, they're doing much more without the help or of the superpowers, whether it was 2 or 3 at one time. Now, you would think that a multipolar world with many countries getting much more power would be safer, but it's not. Conflicts have grown in numbers and violence in the past few years, even though we're in that multipolar world. The last point that I want to make in terms of how geopolitics comes up is I want to talk about non-state actors. I mean, not just terror groups, not just cartels, but also militias. Those non-state actors have grown very rapidly in the past few years. Their power has grown also tremendously, and they basically thrive on weak states, and they help create power vacuums. And what's interesting is that all those governments that have fail-safe for not negotiating with terrorists or non-state actors, they actually do in the end because they have no choice.
In conclusion, why is geopolitics not optional? We've seen that we live in a majorly geopolitical world today. Geopolitics is at the highest it's ever been. So if you try to ignore geopolitics, things will still happen. If you try to understand it, it will give you power and it will be easier for you to make decisions. What I'm asking from you tonight is not to predict the future. That's my job. What I'm asking from you is to make sure that you're not going to be surprised by the future. Thank you very much and good night.